Hello, everyone. I guess it's called Black Friday because today is the big day of all the sales. It's the day after Thanksgiving. So, welcome to today's episode of Speaking the Truth About Money with Martin Coward and Joy the Wise Woman. I am both. I am both Martin Coward and Joy the Wise Woman. Joy the Wise Woman is the name I give to my spirit, to my divine intuition. And we're going to talk a lot more about that in just a little bit because my guest today is Jill Tomczak-Redman. And she does something very similar that I do. And her journey is not too different. I mean, we both spent most of our lives trying to please others, trying to be something important, trying to make a big deal, trying to make a big. It was always about trying to create something that wasn't really us. And we're both part of the same coaching group. We're both part of Kelly Roach's coaching program, and we met in there. And we both realized we had so much in common, and we've had such a good time in there. I wanted her to come on my show and share her story of her transformational story about when she realized that there was so much more inside her than what she thought she was when she was trying to be something that pleased all these other people. We've all done that. We've all gone through our lives where we felt like we weren't good enough. It really comes to that Martin Coward isn't quite good enough. So I need to go out and I need to create this persona to get people to like me, to want to buy my services, and nothing could be further from the truth. What we want to do is we want to learn to love ourselves first, and then we can love others. And then people want what we have. They want this kind of wisdom, this kind of knowledge, because we want to be our powerful, most authentic selves, don't we, Jill? So, Jill,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for coming on the show today. Please start out with just telling us a little bit about your own story. How did you get to that point where enough's enough? I have been out there pleasing the world. I've been somebody else's mother. I've been their wife. I've been in this job with that title. I spent most of my life and I did the same thing until one day I said enough's enough. But tell us a little bit about how you got to that what's enough, and then what happened, and then what's it like now that you're not out there trying to please the world to prove you're worthy?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. I'm super excited. My journey. I come from. I've had a good journey. I would say overall, I've had a good journey. I've had a lot of lessons, and I come from a blue collar background. I'm from a city in the northeast of the U.S. that got hit through recessions and Rust Belt, and so the town I grew up in and the place that nurtured me had no illusions about what life could be like. And the idea of safety was huge in that life. Here's what you did to be safe. And while that's comforting and the people did the best they could, what it did was hold me down. I came along. I am the youngest of three kids. And I came along after my brother, who went through a few health challenges when he was younger. And, he got through them all and took a toll on my parents because they took up all his time, money, and energy. And I came around the last kid, happy, smiling. So my job in the family was to keep people happy. I was to be the one that didn't cause problems, the one that could just be there and be a joy in the family. So that was the setup. A wonderful blue-collar town that took care of people. However, this is your tribe and this is what you do, and here's where you are. Mm-hmm. And here's where you stay. So that was my upbringing. And now along those lines, I did those things. I did all the right things. I went to school. I went to university, not for what I wanted, but I went to school for engineering because I tested well in maths. And they told me that, oh, you'll be good at this. Didn't matter what I wanted to do. I actually grew up wanting to be part of the sports world and want to be part of sports management. Did not happen for me because let's be realistic. You need to have a good income. Be realistic. So I did that. And I got married. Got the house, had the kid. Even moved to another country to be with my husband. I did all the right things all the way through, all the things I was supposed to do. And I knew in the back of my mind that wasn't right. There was something happening in the back. There was that disconnect from who
Mhm.
I was, from the person that gave up the dream of being in the sports industry, that gave up the idea of where do I stay? Where do I travel? No, I got married and we stayed put. So somewhere along those lines, I lost me because I wanted to make my husband happy, wanted to make my parents happy. I get a good job. I did well at work. I didn't take breaks. I worked through my lunch. I did all those extra things. I came in early. I stayed late because I would get rewarded for that. I would get rewarded, say, oh, look, oh, she's dependable. That was one of the highest compliments I got. She's so dependable. And that's what I valued my worth on. And along the way, I also realized slowly I was being introduced and introducing myself as, hi, I'm Mike's wife. I'm Hannah's mom. Oh, I work for, oh, I'm in their department. And realizing often my name didn't even come into play. No matter what I did, I was valued because of what I could do for somebody. And that's where I was getting value from. And if I couldn't constantly give and please people, I felt horrible because I figured I didn't have any value unless I could help people. I didn't have any value, no intrinsic value. I could not recognize this divine person and this divine being that was within me. Because along the way, I decided that I was not good enough. I was unworthy. I wasn't lovable for just who I was. And I was completely powerless to change that.
Ah,
So along the way, I decided that. And nobody decides these things. We don't go out, Martin, you know that we don't go out and decide one day, you know what? I think I'm going to decide that I'm going to be unlovable.
right.
We don't do that. Somewhere along the lines, unconsciously, we've come to these decisions.
Well, we've been taught that, and particularly for me being a gay man, being part of that community, we were told that we weren't as good as straight people, and that
Hmm.
we weren't as lovable, and we weren't as worthy as straight people. And so me growing up, I had so much trauma in my house about money that I grew up with this belief really until I was in my 60s that if I'm going to be gay, number one, I better be a rich gay person. I better be successful if I want my mother to love me,
Hmm.
because I heard my parents arguing about money all their life. You better be this, you better do that, you better do this, you better, the doctor with the fancy house on the hill. That these are the people that were to be revered as worthy.
Yes.
If you were just, I mean, it's okay if you love being a mother and a husband, and you want to create a house, that's what you feel is your soul's purpose. That's okay. We're not telling you that that's not the right thing to be for yourself, but do it for yourself is what we're trying to tell you.
Right.
That's enough as itself. Be whatever it is, whoever it is you are, then that's enough.
And that's 100%. And along the way, I began to realize I didn't know who I was anymore
Yeah.
because I kept doing the things I thought I was supposed to be doing. I should be doing this, and I'm supposed to do that. And along the way, I lost myself. I lost my name. I lost whatever I wanted to be, those real things. Because honestly, in order to come out that to say, listen, no, I don't, to say to people that, you know what, this is not what I believe. This is what I want to do, was scary. And along the way, I began to sabotage everything.
Yeah.
Started to blow up my marriage. Started to be unhappy at work. And it got to the point where I ended up getting divorced. And that again took a toll on me because I was no longer useful there. And now I had to take care of my daughter, as a single mother. So again, pouring myself further into the things that were taking me away from me.
Mm-hmm.
Further into those things and away from myself. And it got big enough to the point where I blew up my career with a restructuring of a company, blew through a 6-figure severance along the way, trying to go back into the career that was sucking my soul.
Yes.
Because it's what I was supposed to do. It kept trying to say, no, you need to. The universe kept telling me I needed to be over here. God kept telling me I needed to be over here. And I kept kicking and screaming, trying to stay where I thought I was supposed to be. And it finally got big enough for me to say, after blowing through six figures, talk about a money story. And because that's what I wanted. Listen, if I could just get grip to change a career, and then I had the opportunity, and I blew it myself. Because again, I didn't think I was worthy of it. And I let myself get to that place. And it took a lot. It took a lot of humility and some deep searching to allow me to say, you know what? It's me. It's not my life. It's not my ex. It's not my job. It's me. I'm the one who has to hold myself accountable. And I need to be answering to be true to myself.
Yes.
That was the biggest thing, is once I realized that I was actually worthy of doing that. I didn't even think I was worthy of doing that work. It's like the more I had the opportunity to become myself, the less I felt I was worthy of it.
Oh,
How's that for a Gordian knot?
I understand how we need to sort of like sabotage ourselves. I found myself on the edge of bankruptcy in 2017, and it didn't take me long. I was like you. I was a top producer in a great big Fortune 100 wealth services firm with this big fancy office on Park Avenue, and it all came tumbling down when we had this big dark force come into power in this country in 2016, 2017, and I literally found myself on the edge of bankruptcy. And I'll tell you how I had it happen to me one day. I was having a big pity party here at my house one day, feeling sorry for myself, feeling my victim. I think I'd had my car, my BMW, repossessed and I had to go pick it up from the pound. That was embarrassing and humiliating. So I was in that dark, deep place of despair. I call it my dark night of the soul. And my spiritual teacher called me up one day, and she said, I called her. I needed some help. I was so miserable. She's also my therapist, but she's more of a spiritual teacher. And she said, well, Martin, I don't suggest you declare bankruptcy. That would make you feel a little bit better, but it's not going to solve the problem. If you want to solve this problem, you're going to have to surrender this problem to God the way you surrendered alcohol to God 10 years ago. And you know something, Jill, as soon as I did that, what she told me, I mean, really from my heart, I let it go. And my whole sense of being was filled with this grace and love and joy. And I realized there's so much more, and a voice deep within me. She's now called Joy the Wise Woman. That's why I call her the Wise Woman, because she woke me up to the truth. And she said, Martin, all this stuff that you worry about doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that you're a top producer. Doesn't matter. All that matters is that you show up with an open heart, full of love and full of gratitude for life. And I, the divine, will take over from there. Because that is truly who I am. I'm truly Joy the Wise Woman. She is the one that's doing the doing. She's the one that's doing the talking. She's the voice of authority. That is that zone of genius we talk about. Mm-hmm. So when I discovered that voice of authority, and I began to work into owning that space, that that voice in my head that was constantly barking, "You're not good enough," just absolutely, I put it in its place, put it that way. What now that what is, did anything in specifically happen that woke you up? Any specific event that's like that just sort of said, wait a minute, something's got to, this is like a moment of epiphany, we might call it.
It was the third time I got rejected by the industry I was trying to stay in. Once, twice, third time it's got to be me. And at that point, I actually called my ex-husband and said, on my way as I was leaving the office, and said, all right, it's happened again. What do you suggest? To call him and say, I don't know what's going on. And we'd been divorced a number of years. And I knew it's me. And it came to that when it's the third time. And then I couldn't blame it on anyone else. There was no one left to blame. And once I said, it's me, and like you owned it.
Yes.
At that moment, I began to own it. And I say blame because that was the initial thought. But as soon as I said that, I realized there was no blame.
Right.
The blame went away.
Right. Because you're not a victim anymore.
It's not a victim anymore. Okay. I mean, maybe, how you say the universe has to maybe hit you a little bit, get your attention. The universe was getting louder and louder, so I would pay attention. Our guides, our angels, God is trying to get our attention all the time to put us in that place where we can be magnificent, when we know our own. And that's at that moment. And when humility, I dropped any sort of pride and called him. And he said, okay. He goes, let me get back to you. Because he had some people he'd be willing to talk to, and people that he knew that perhaps in the past I wouldn't have accepted things from, but he knew they had what I needed.
That's a wonderful story. It's so humbling to call your ex-husband and to say, you know what? And I think that's the first step to solving any problem is to take responsibility for causing the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second step is getting really clear about what the problem is. And then the third is surrendering it to that higher power, saying, wait a minute, I can't handle this. This is too big for me. I can't do this. And that's what I did. I said, God, I have made a mess of my finances. I am miserable and I need your help. And that was that surrendering prayer that just opened up my heart to this whole new experience of this divine presence that I had conversations with before. I've been a mystic for years, but I never, ever let go of control of my money.
And I love that word surrender, because that's exactly it. Surrender and giving up are two separate things.
Oh my
surrender.
God.
Exactly. A lot of people think surrender is defeat and surrender is giving up. Absolutely not. Surrender is allowing for things to happen, is to what we resist persists. Surrender is letting go of that excess energy and that fight.
Yeah.
And let's use that where we're going to move forward instead of the fighting it. So, and at that point, I then began to go do self-work. And I came to what I do now by being a client at that time. So I went and did that. And I went through, because I didn't know what the problem was. I knew there was one, but I didn't know what it was. And going through the process of really finding out what my values are, what are my drivers in life, what are the things that are true, what's my mission? What are those things that are keeping me up at 3:00 in the morning that I know that I've been put on this earth to help others through? Those are the things. And once I was able to do that and get to those, my world changed. My health changed. My idea of money, my idea of control changed. That was a huge thing. I didn't have to hold on to things like this. The ability to be able to handle things changed my definition of control and all that extra and wasted energy.
I love that idea, definition of control and definition, and also having to know things. Because what I discovered is that, number one, I don't know anything. Martin doesn't know anything. Martin's ego does. Martin's shadow, which is a part of me that's always saying I'm not good enough, it doesn't know anything. It wants to know everything, but it knows absolutely nothing about the future for sure. It has an interpretation of what happened in the past, which can make me feel pretty bad, but it has no idea what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, really. The second thing is control. The universe is doing fine without Martin and Jill intervening.
Mm-hmm.
It's doing quite well. It's 14 billion years in the making. So what we have a choice to do, and one of the things else that you said I thought was interesting is when we're so caught up in trying to prove our worth, when we're so caught up in our own agenda to be something that we're not, we've got so much invested in being the financial planner, the wealth manager, the important this, the important that. The universe is constantly giving us opportunities to get what we want, but we're so busy trying to get all these things we think we need, we can't hear it because we're not quiet enough. We don't get still and slow down long to listen to the universe. The universe finally says, "Wait a minute, Jill. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. You're here to make a difference in the world." And if you just slow down long enough and quit all these other things that you think are so important, to just listen to me in meditations, what I always recommend, you're gonna start hearing that. And that is the how to. People say, well, how do you become a millionaire? How do you manifest? You listen to the guidance from the divine who's constantly trying to tell you over and over and so what I did yesterday for Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
I turned myself off from all and spent a day with Joy the Wise Woman.
Nice.
Gratitude and getting to know, getting intimate. And during that conversation, she came up with all kinds of ideas that she wanted me to implement afterwards to try to make a difference in the world. Because now we're on the same agenda. We're in alignment, that we've got the same mission. And the mission comes from my soul, And when I've aligned that and I lay back and surrender my agenda, Martin Coward's agenda to do whatever Martin thinks he got to do to make his life happy, to the agenda, to alignment with the creator of the universe, which is within me and you. It's not something out there. It's not God. God is not something out there beyond it. God is right here in our own very hearts. And if we get slow long enough, our heart will open, our minds will quiet, and we'll get all sorts of wonderful ideas, and our life becomes wildly exciting. Wow, because we're not afraid of anything, because we've got that inner power within us.
I love that. I love that. And when I went through the process myself, and I can probably say that was the first thing that I actually had done for myself in decades. So going through, realizing that I am lovable, that I am good enough, I'm worthy, and I have power to affect the change and affect absolutely. I can affect this world. I can affect my life. I can affect others by being my true self. And by doing that and create a community where we can do this together.
Yes.
And once I began to do that and learned skills, because prayer and thoughts is great, it works with action. And that's how the divine and God works through us, by the actions we take.
Right.
And once I did that and let the rest of it go, whatever the things, the distracting things, the details, everything changed. Absolutely everything changed. My relationships, like I said, my health changed, which I didn't, that wasn't something I was expecting.
Yeah.
My relationships with my ex my daughter, everyone. The opportunities that came once I did that, I let go, were immense. The community I've created around me, the people that perhaps I didn't know that were even standing right next to me are there. My relationship with my family changed when I realized my parents did the best they could,
Right.
and where their motivations were. And from their point of view, the idea of keeping me safe, even though I felt it constricting, was actually out of pure love.
Yeah.
So once I was able to do that, and I wasn't reactionary, everything changed. So
Isn't that wonderful? Isn't it wonderful to be in that powerful, loving alignment with the creator of the universe? Because what I have discovered is I hold this as I become, my mantra when I meditate is I am loving awareness.
mm-hmm.
I am, it's a wonderful Ram Dass meditation. I am loving awareness. And when I am loving awareness, I am aware that that's who I am. And I am the awareness, the space that's holding everything in the universe, including other life forms. Then I can begin to listen to those other life forms who are really here to build things like, I don't quite know why, the pyramids. I mean, we can look around the planet Earth and we can find all sorts of things that were created and built by what came out of the human mind that's way beyond the understanding of our logical brain today.
Mm-hmm. I
And
know.
the pyramids are one of the most wonderful examples of that, because it's built in the exact 432 vibration of the universe is the healing universe of Om. And so when we slow down long enough and listen and get into that vibrational frequency, we can find that's our zone of genius. And we find a tremendous amount of power to live a life of purpose and meaning in the world. And I will tell you this, for me, that's a happy, fulfilling life. The key to living a happy and fulfilling life is to just let go of all these things we think we need to do and be that don't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And just be ourselves. Just be that loving, creative person. And when we let go of all that stuff, like I let go and surrendered, and you let go and surrendered, you'll find yourself with an enormous amount of power. I would call that your zone of genius.
Yes.
Because it's in that zone of genius where we're vibrating at that higher frequency, just to call theta, if you want to know scientifically. It's those theta waves, which you're probably familiar with, which is just before we go to sleep. So that's when we're the most creative. And so sometimes Joy the Wise Woman will wake me up at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, all right, what do you want to do? Oh, you want to write something, you want to create something. I'll get up, I'll make myself a cup of coffee. I don't question it anymore, because the universe is trying to give me an opportunity to do something.
Absolutely. And you're saying those theta waves, and those moments just before you're going to sleep, it's theta waves. And I'm a hypnotherapist, and that's the waves, that's the brainwave that hypnosis works on.
Right.
And that sweet spot is one of the most life-changing creative bands before you go to sleep, is to give yourself those suggestions of magnificence, those suggestions that you are divine and you are creative in whatever suggestions you choose to give yourself. Use the way the divine has created us. And that's so powerful, connecting to yourself, your higher self, to get
higher self.
Those inspirations. And the ability to do that is one of the things that I've done. And when I began to learn that has shifted me. And it's one of those tools that I use every single day that has changed my life and keeps me
it
on
is
my mission.
Yes, like I said yesterday, I spent the day just in really basically in a meditative state most of the day, just listening to her. listening to Joy saying, and I say, whatever we're doing, whatever you want today. I'm just going to surrender the entire day to you because I'm so grateful for this life. It's Thanksgiving. And if you want to do this, if you want to do that. And you know what? She guided me through the most delightful day. I ended up watching a Star Trek movie last night. And I thought, she said, let's watch a Star Trek movie. I thought, okay. I loved it. It was like it gave me because I've got this whole thing now where I'm kind of beginning to understand that when we say we're that universal creative, it means the universe. I'm like, and I watched Star Trek from a whole new perspective.
I love it.
And then I was like, yeah, we're already in communication with other life forms and other planets that are here to guide us, this younger planet called Earth, into a higher level of consciousness so that we can become, they're like ambassadors of peace. And we're working toward a peaceful planet. We're not there yet, but that's really the motivation behind me. And I think behind you is that we want to lead this. We want to be part of a movement that's leading planet Earth to a place of peace and prosperity for everyone to enjoy, not just those who are willing to do whatever they can to get their civil power, which is wrong, which is not benefiting anyone. But we're really in a movement right now, I think since the pandemic, to move the universe toward a more peaceful, more loving planet, so that we can join other planets, other galaxies who are in this realm of unconditional love energy.
Now the number escapes me. However, each of us have influence. Each of us affects, and I'm getting these two numbers mixed up in my head, whether it's 77,000 or 90,000. We affect 77,000 people along in our lifetime, just by us.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we influence somebody who may influence somebody who creates something for somebody else. So knowing that's on my mission, I want to use it. I want to use it really, really well, that I'm here. Because then when I start to think about that, we are powerful. We are powerful.
Yeah, and the thing about that is our joy level goes up. Our life, when I'm out there serving others, my joy level, when I'm coming from that spiritual zone of genius, I'm coming from that place of wisdom and acceptance and love and unconditional love energy. My joy is, I might be sad because I might be sad because maybe something happened, like I lost my dog or something. So I'm not saying we live in a perpetual state of happiness, but underneath all of that, there's a sense of joy of life. It's holding the pain of the loss of somebody you loved. It's holding those difficult situations. It's not punishing them. It's holding us in that realm of love to say, we're going to heal from this. You're going to grow from this. You're going to be better from this.
Because we all feel all emotions. All healthy humans, you feel every single emotion. Because our emotions are valid. When we have joy to hold the grief, that we can hold the grief in, that means we can go through the grief, take the learnings of the grief, because it's going to be appropriate at some time, at places. There's times when it's be appropriate. But if we have joy to help us hold that, we get through quicker, and we now get the lessons and the joy from whatever was the situation. And for those people that have passed, we still have their joy.
Well, what you realize too is that we're all souls, whether we're living souls as Martin and Jill, or we're just the souls that are the souls of the past. There is not another set of souls somewhere. There's not another zone of genius. There's not another heart space. There's not another kingdom of heaven or quantum field. There is only the one we're in, and we're it. And that's a powerful place to be. And I'm looking at the clock, and I'm realizing that we are going a little over. So I want to give you one chance to answer one question before we go. If someone they're listening to the show and they're feeling like, wow, I'd like to find out a little bit more I want them to get to you, but also what's one thing that someone could do immediately to help them let go of their need to go out and prove their worth, to know they're worthy? What's the one tip that you might give somebody to start they could do right away that help them let go of this false belief that they need to please others and actually learn to love themselves?
Well, one of the most important things is choose. The words I choose, they change our neurology. When you use the words I choose, naturally your neurology opens up, and that opens up opportunity and abundance within us. If you use the words I have to and I should, you can feel how closed you are. By choosing, you actually change more. And now you begin to this is based how your body is wired. You able to then bring in more abundance because you can now recognize it. And you're helping your brain recognize the abundance and opportunity. The second thing is because I work with the unconscious mind, and we're talking about the theta wave and those suggestions and that creativity. The unconscious mind doesn't process negatives. So when you're speaking to yourself about yourself, even if you're speaking out loud because it's always listening, avoid negatives. Whatever that self-talk is, those are your suggestions you're giving yourself. Watch what you're speaking to yourself. What are you taking in? What's your diet? If the news is making you crazy, turn the news off. If you're watching too much YouTube and the Reddit stories and craziness, cut that out.
Yes.
Bring in creativity. Bring in magnificence. Choose. Become that active participant in your own life. And once I began to choose, I regained power. I regained my worth. And I can choose to say no.
Yes.
Once I began to do those things, I became at the forefront. My name, I naturally began putting my name first. I'm not doing this because I'm choosing to do it. Once I realized I can choose to help this person, I can choose not to help that person. Once I took that under my wing, then I began to soar.
I love that. It's a choice.
And it's done with love.
Yes. And I would say that I love that idea of just choosing. And I want to tell you, and for me, it's even simpler. When I choose love over fear to lead my life, that is the choice I make. And I can choose. I can choose to let fear continue to run my life, and I can be in that miserable state of not knowing, of unworthiness. Or I have a choice. I do have a choice to say, you know what? I'm going to let go of this fear. I'm going to surrender this fear, and I'm going to choose love. I'm going to choose the power of love to drive my life in the future. So I think that is, and you got a choice. You get a choice which path you want. And when you make that choice, you get to live it, whatever you want. But I can tell you personally, and it sounds like from you too, when I made the choice to choose love as the driver of my life and not fear about being good enough, not fear, knowing I am loved, I'm fully worthy of a wonderful, abundant life. That's the kind of life I'm living, and that's the life I want to live, and that's the life I want my clients to live and people who are listening. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. So if people want to get in touch with you, Jill, what's the best and easiest way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, one of the places that I have people that are really active and I see it fairly often is Facebook. So that is one where my messages come right through. I am on LinkedIn as well. However, I'm going to tell you to do Facebook if that's possible for you all, or LinkedIn. And Jill Tomczak-Redman, I'm there. I'd love to hear from you. We have everybody that comes into my world has given me gifts just by simply being there.
Yes.
And I love just coffee chats. I love, and I would love to meet with anybody, or if anybody's got questions and they want more, if they just want to say hi, I welcome you there.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And it's just about when you do lead from love, it's just a matter of there's no agenda. People just get, I want to hear their stories. I want to hear what they're doing,
Mhm.
and see if there's a way that what I do can be of some help to them. So I would definitely, I mean, I've gotten to know Jill through our coaching together, and that's why she's on the show, because she walks this talk. She believes in, she's chosen love over fear, and she's chosen to live a life that's driven by love and unconditional love. And she wants, I think, from my experience with her, that's what she wants from you, because life becomes wildly more exciting when
Oh, yeah, it's a lot more fun.
it's a
It
lot more
really
fun.
is.
It's a lot more fun. So I'm going to tell you all about something we've got going on that we created recently that's available to you, and it's called the World. I'm telling you that, you too, Jill. You're welcome to this as well. But we've created a new online program. It's called the LGBT Community Coaching Program. It is for LGBTQ plus our allies who want to some help really amplifying their voice, being their authentic self, getting into their zone of genius, so that they can go out in the world and do what Jill and I are doing. They've got the support they need to love themselves, because sometimes we can't do this alone. Like Jill said in her story, she had to reach out to her ex-husband for support, who then was in support. But so we've created this, and we'll have the link for you there if you want to find out more about that community, because that community has been designed specifically for what we're talking about here. Because what we've learned is that you can't do it alone, because we're not alone. We're all one big heartbeat. So that's the Son of Genius. So we created this brand new community called the LGBTQ plus community coaching program, where we're going to help you amplify your voice, get to know your voice, and get to know that authentic voice, so that you can be heard and you can make a bigger impact on the internet. And we've also got some programs in there where we're actually doing something even more exciting uh, than that, which, in my opinion, and that's we're saving the lives of a lot of from our LGBTQ brothers and sisters in Africa who need jobs. And so we're solving that unemployment problem by we've created something called the Diamond Mine Academy and Virtual Talent Agency, where we are connecting people. This is subsidized by the community, where we're connecting LGBTQ allies on our side who need support staff, who need people to help them amplify their voice in the world, whether that's either podcast editing or social selling or other tasks that can free you up so you can be more your authentic self. So that is called the LGBTQ plus community coaching program. You'll find everything you need within there. Please come over there and join us. And also, again, like Jill, if you want to get to know me and what I'm doing, Facebook and LinkedIn, Martin Cowart, send me a direct message. I'll be more than happy to talk to you, get on a Zoom call with you for 10 or 15 minutes, get to know you, and see how we can support and love you and take care of you. Because we're in a movement, Jill and I, we are in a movement to change this world, to make this planet during our lifetime a place where everybody is welcome, where everybody has an opportunity to live a life of abundance and prosperity, because that is the way we're designed. And that's the way the divine creator wanted it for us. For all of us, we're all worthy. We're all here for a purpose. And so join us over there. Give Jill a call, send her a direct message, give me a direct message, join us in our community. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us today. I know we've gone a little bit over, but I was enjoying Jill's, maybe because we do something so similar. But this is the thing I'm gonna say before we close out, Jill. You and I do, I mean, you could almost lay it out. We almost do exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not my competitor.
Absolutely not.
We're not competitors. There's no one that can do what I do, and no one can do it but me, and no one can do what Jill does what Jill does.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're living in that zone, I'm going to compete with other coaches. Forget that nonsense. There is no competition. When you're in your zone of genius, you know that there is no competition, because there's only one like you. The only one like you can do what you're doing. Jill's clients and people she works with are attracted to her because she's Jill. And even though we do very similar work, we have different paths, different skills, different strategies. It's what's right for you. So when you're in that zone of genius, know something. There is more. There's an abundance of resources for everyone to prosper and make money, enjoy life.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people on this planet and only one you. You can't possibly serve them all.
we can't possibly serve
I
it all.
couldn't serve them all. So this is why we have our community, so we can serve more.
That's exactly right. So thanks to everyone for joining us today. And please, this will be a podcast that'll be released on Monday or Tuesday of next week. Please listen to the podcast, Speaking the Truth About Money with Martin and Joy the Wise Woman. And Jill, thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for joining us today.
I feel blessed for being here.
I feel blessed to have you, and may love and prosperity prevail. Thank you so much.